Hello and welcome yet again to another edition of Have You Seen? The podcast where we talk about movies, television. And today, it's the first entry in what I hope will be a long-running tradition here. The IMDB Top 100 Movies Review. I got a nice scratch-off poster on my wall for all the classic movies that they tell me I have not seen. It's been a long time coming. I've been putting this off for a very, very long time. Again, there are a lot of movies that you would consider classics. I'm supposed to be a movie person and I haven't seen these movies. I'm doing the homework now. I'm doing the legwork. And today we're talking about Good Will Hunting. Now, to do this review, I couldn't do it alone. For these reviews, I'm trying to bring people that are passionate about these movies, and I think I've done a good job here. I got my man Rolo at Speak On It Rolo on Twitter. He said he could recite this movie word for word. I'm not going to make him do it right now on the podcast. That would be disrespectful. But Rolo, how you feeling?
Bibbs, thank you for having me on, man. I'm truly honored to be on here and to be your first guest on what I hope to be a very wonderful and long journey as you go through the IMDb's top 100 classic movies of all time. And what better way than to start with Good Will Hunting? Just a great movie, man. The cast was great. Everything about this movie was awesome. And so, how do you like them apples, babe? How do you like them apples, man?
So for the first entry, I would say, the people were not wrong about this movie. I'm watching it and I'm like, yeah, I see why this is a classic. This is one of those movies. You mentioned the cast. Let's start there. So the cast for this movie, Robin Williams, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Stellan Skarsgard, also featuring Casey Affleck, Cole Hauser, and Minnie Driver, directed by Gus Van Sant, written by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Quick synopsis: Will Hunting, a janitor at M.I.T, has a gift for mathematics, but needs help from a psychologist to find direction in his life. Pretty straightforward. Doesn't really give you enough to get the full context, but if I just read that description, it probably wouldn't have been one of the first movies I decided to watch. But once you get into it, once you get into the details, you can see the depth of the story. So before we get into it here, I do want to list off the accolades for this movie, and we're going to talk about the Academy Awards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 nominations for Academy Awards, 2 wins. Robin Williams, may he rest in peace, won Best Actor in a Supporting Role. And Matt Damon and Ben Affleck won for Best Screenplay. Best Writing, screenplay written directly for the screen. The names of these awards have changed over the years. This was the 1998 Oscars. It was also nominated for Best Director, Best Picture. Matt Damon was nominated as the Best Lead Actor. Minnie Driver was nominated as the Best Supporting Actress. It was also nominated for Film Editing, Original Song for Miss Misery by Elliott Smith, and Original Score by the legendary Danny Elfman. Accolades. And I can't say any of them were undeserved. Before we get started, Rolo, I have to ask you to lay it out for us. What is your history with this movie? Why do you think you've latched onto it as one of your favorite movies of all time? And, tell us about your fanhood of this movie. Hello, Have You Seen listeners? If you are a movie fan, which I would imagine you are if you're listening to this podcast, and your local theater is a Cinemark, let me tell you about Cinemark Rewards. Cinemark has 2 different levels of Cinemark Rewards. The first being the Cinemark Movie Fan, which is a free level. You sign up for Cinemark Movie Fan, you'll earn 1 point for every dollar you spend at the Cinemark theaters. You can redeem those points for tickets and other rewards. You'll receive member access to screenings and advanced tickets. You'll get an extra discount on Tuesday and other exclusive member offers. Now, if you're a bigger movie fan and you're willing to put some cash up, the Cinemark Movie Club is $9.99 per month. You'll get all of the above. Plus, you'll get one free ticket every month. Again, if you're going to the movies at least once a month, this is already paying for itself. One free ticket every month, 20% off all concessions. And if you upgrade to platinum, it'll be 25%. You get to platinum status by attending movies, by the way, but that's neither here nor there right now. You're just signing up. You won't be eligible right away, but eventually you could get up to platinum status and get 25% off. You also have online fees waived. And that doesn't just apply to tickets. You can order your concessions online as well and pick them up once you go to the theater. Any unused ticket credits roll over to the next month. That means if you don't use your one ticket that month, it rolls over to the next month, so on and so forth. So if you're worried, what if I miss a month, then it's not paying for itself, Mike? Well, if you miss a month, it rolls over. You can watch 2 the next month if you like. Now, you'll also get member pricing for additional tickets you buy, and that is important. For more information, you can hit the link in the show notes. That'll give you the more details, and you can sign up today.
Well, so we were kind of talking about this in the pre-show setup right before we got started. So I've been following Matt Damon and Ben Affleck's career, basically since the movie School Ties. I don't know if you've seen that movie with Brendan Fraser. Yeah, so they were with
it, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, so I mean, they had big parts. I mean, Matt Damon had a bigger part in it than Ben Affleck's part. But I remember them from that movie, and then also like a lot of the Kevin Smith, the View Askew production movies, like Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob's, what is it, Strikes Back, Chasing Amy, movies like that. There was another one. It's escaping me now, but Mallrats, Clerks, all those movies. Now, I don't believe they were in Clerks, but I know they were in Mallrats. So I was a big fan of theirs there before they actually really blew up. Before Matt Damon and Ben Affleck took off, I think this movie was what jettisoned them into the stratosphere. As far as they talked a couple of weeks ago on Bill Simmons' podcast. Whenever they were talking about Air, they talked about how once they started taking off, they both went their separate ways because they were trying to get as many jobs as they could, and so that's what led them to coming back together in a different movie that you've already reviewed, which is Air. So it was interesting to see the dynamic of their relationship over the years, because you saw how they started. You saw all the movies that they both did, whether it was together or apart, individually, how they were drugged through the mud, or, all the things that happened throughout their career. So I've just been a big fan following all of that. And this movie was really just because what you mentioned, the depth of the characters, the dialogue, the story itself. I mean, and I know we're going to get into it, but it really, just set a tone for the movies that were actually being released during that time in the late 90s. If you don't remember, if you guys listening, there were a whole bunch of movies in the late 90s that just really were that were released by the Weinstein Company, that were just like artsy movies. I know it's hard to say his name now. Yeah, but I mean, the movies that were released back then, though, were just masterpieces. I know his name and what he did is horrible, but the movies that were affiliated with him was just great, and it was just good to see that they were part of that, takeoff, originally.
So you were a fan before this movie of these two? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You gotta call me now. Hold on.
My bad, but it's a what do you call it? Instincts. Instincts take over for sure.
But yeah, so that's actually makes this very interesting to me, because I'm the type of viewer as well, where I find someone early in their careers and enjoy watching them as they go. I think of all the young actors that I've kind of latched onto and like enjoy their ride. Like no matter what they do, I'm gonna support. Like Michael B. Jordan, like pretty much the entire Friday Night Lights cast. Like anybody from that cast shows up in something, like I'm gonna check it out. It's that actually makes this very interesting to me. So we talk about Matt Damon, we talk about Ben Affleck. I think seeing Matt Damon in this movie kind of brings it back full circle for me, because I think about movies like, let's say the Martian, and like, wow, this is a great dramatic role for Matt Damon. And it's like, he always has had these chops. He just doesn't always flex them in every role that he's in necessarily. But he was killing it in that movie. And like, I could see like, man, this dude is going to have multiple Oscars like at some point in his life. And then you look at his resume, and the only Oscar nomination he has is for, only Oscar win he has, I should say, is for this movie. Did you think he was going to be one of those guys that was constantly on the award circuit?
I really did. Yes, I agree. I actually thought that he was going to be more of the, I guess you would say, more of the award winner. And I was seeing Ben Affleck's trip as more like, because he was in that movie Armageddon, so a lot of blockbusters. Right. So I thought that Ben Affleck's arc was always going to be more like blockbuster laden, more not so much, the best actors or, Academy Award winner. Whereas I saw the acting chops from Matt, and I thought, oh yeah, definitely. This is just the beginning of a long and illustrious career that he's going to have, not only writing, but maybe even directing, maybe even acting in some certain movies. Yeah. And so, to hear you mention that that they only won for that after all of these years, it really kind of puts an interesting wrinkle on everything, because I do really think that at that point in time when I saw this movie, Matt Damon was, like I said, you were just strapping a rocket ship to his back and he was just going to take off, and just be in every type of lead, like real, like moving movies, that
a bunch of big juicy movies you would expect.
Yeah, exactly. And so that it is definitely interesting, doing a retrospective, I guess, of his career, which he's had a ton of great movies and a ton of great roles, but has it been, that Oscar worthy or, Emmy worthy or whatever, I guess.
What, 26 years, I guess, since this movie came out. So he has been nominated 3 times, but even when you look at the nominations, like he didn't get nominated for an acting role again for 12 years after this movie. And it was Invictus. He was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. And then he gets nominated again in 2016. Actually, 2016 for The Martian, which I mentioned a minute ago. And then he got nominated in 2017 for Manchester by the Sea. And that was was he a director on that? I don't think he was an actor. What was it? Hold on.
Yeah, no problem.
Wasn't a director. Wasn't a writer. He's a producer.
I think he was an executive producer is what I was thinking. Yeah.
So those are his only other nominations besides this movie is producer credit on Manchester by the Sea, and then 2 best leads in Invictus and The Martian. So like you said, you see a guy, and people watch these awards because they're trying to star make, right? Like this next person is going to take off, and then you see like Matt Damon. I'm not gonna say he had a bad career at all.
No, not at all. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that. I agree with you.
Like he was going to be one of the legends of the screen, and it's kind of he's had a very, very strong career, but it didn't go the way it maybe looked like it was going to at that time.
Yeah, exactly. I would agree with that.
And then Ben Affleck himself has a another Oscar win since this movie with Argo. I'm trying to pull it up to see what year that was.
I think he was for director, right?
I think that was for director also. Let's see. Let's find out if I can get it to come up. I don't know why Yep. Best Picture, actually.
Oh, Best Picture. Okay.
2013 Best Picture. So
And that was an incredible movie as well. Argo was
15 years,
definitely, yeah.
Again, 15 years after the fact, he gets another breakthrough. That's the only other time he's been nominated. He's been nominated twice. He's won both times. So, the thing I think that surprised me the most is that there wasn't a ton of Ben Affleck really in this movie. He had some good moments, but it wasn't a ton of Ben Affleck. Long story short, we've got some boys from South Boston, Southie, as you will, and I found it interesting because a group of white guys. I'm a black person. You're a Latino or Hispanic. I don't know if I don't want to offend you.
You're good, man. Hispanic, Latino, whatever. All right. Just not Latinx. Don't give me that stuff.
I don't want to say the wrong thing. If what you want.
No, you're good, man.
But like, I think I can imagine that you kind of relate to this group of guys. Probably, and myself, I could kind of relate to this group of guys, particularly Matt Damon's character, because I was the smart kid in the hood, or if you will, and you run into the situation where you feel like you're going against your identity in some way, but at the same time, as the movie progresses and you see the people that you think that you're pulling away from if you go towards your academic pursuits or whatever, they want that for you. Like they want you to get out. And like, I think the scene with Ben Affleck where he's like, you're still here in 20 years.
I'm going to kick your ass. Yeah, I'm going to. I love that scene. Yeah. I mean, there's so many scenes, but yes, I 100% agree that when you said, I want to backtrack a little bit, but what you began to say was, it's you and your boys, right? Right. It's you and your boys. It's people that, either you grew up with or the people that you're the closest with, right? In this instance, so we're talking about the movie now. This guy didn't have the best of upbringings. I'm sure we're going to get into all that. Right. And so these are guys that basically adopted him. He's like the little brother, but they were all together and they would just do everything together. And they were about protecting each other and being, having each other's back. But what the scene that you referenced was that these are guys that can be real with each other and tell each other, look, man, like you said, Chucky, that's Ben Affleck's character, I believe is his name in the movie. Chuckers, if you're here and in 20 years doing construction with me and we're taking our kids to Little League and, and we're at each other's house, I'm going to fucking kill you. I'm going to kill you. Like, why are you here? What are you doing? You have this lottery ticket, which he calls, his smarts. Right. And that if you're too chicken shit to cash it in, like, it's like, I would give anything. Right. You want, then, well, like I said,
any one of us would kill to have what you have. And you're just going to throw it away. Like, no, we're not going to let that happen.
Yeah. Like he was just telling him, you need to do better for yourself. We want you to do better for yourself. You should want that for yourself. And at the end, what he says towards the end is, yeah, I don't know this, but the only thing that I do know is that one of these days that I'm driving to your house, and I get out of the car and I walk up, for those few seconds, that I knock at your door, that you don't answer. That's when I'll realize that everything is okay, cool. He decided to go ahead and move on with his life. And it's like, not that he was going to leave us behind. Exactly. And I never got that sense. He not that he was going to leave his friends behind, but that he was going to finally do what he needed to do with his God-given talents and do better for himself. And then maybe still in the interim, keep in contact with his friends, but maybe not as much. Like they were always just kicking it, having fun, going to bars, doing, all that stuff. But he was, like you said, it was in a point in his life where he had to make a decision as to what he wanted to do with the rest of his life. And what he was doing was getting himself in trouble more and more every time, like getting in fights, doing all this shit because of everything that he went through. Right. And so I think even his friends, in that interesting look, his friends knew that if he continued that lifestyle, he was going to end up in jail or worse. He could have been killed or something, so.
And I would say we probably both know people who went down that path where it's like, you're the smartest person I've known in my life. And like, you're in jail or, he threw it away or he got on drugs. Like there's a lot of these tragic stories in these types of communities. And I think the movie works because it didn't just have, it could have been the simple layer of him being a smart kid from the streets, but it added that layer, like you said, of him being an orphan. And and they talk about it a lot in superhero movies and stuff like that, but the idea of found family, like these are the people that he embraced him, know him deeply, like you said, can check him if need be, and he can check them. And they fight for each other. And when you are a person that has been abandoned, like he had been as a child, who's been abused, like we learned he has been as a child, and you find the people that actually care for you, the idea of being away from them is probably terrifying. Like nobody else is going to get me like these guys get me. Right. I'm insane to leave them. But then you have the dichotomy of him, as we'll bring Robin Williams' character into this soon. He asked him at one point, because he's being an ass to everybody. All the psychologists are trying to crack him, and he's just being a dick to all of them, like manipulating them, making them feel small and terrible, reading them like completely, like like calls them out for being in the closet, like bad stuff, and he's like trying to get under their skin. Robin Williams' character diagnoses that immediately, like this is what he's trying to do. But then he still falls victim. He still gets under that. Like he keeps poking until he finds that one thing and he gets under your skin, which is a brilliant scene, because in my head as a movie person, I'm thinking, all right, so Robin Williams' character is going to be the character that doesn't fall for it. But no, he got him the first time.
Yeah. The cool and collected cat, right? Like the guy, he's like, he like you said, he read him perfectly. He knew who Matt Damon was the moment, the moment he met him. He knew Will Hunting, the moment he saw him. So he was like everything classic. And even then, like jumping back a little bit, I know we're going all over the place, but when he met with the professor, when Robin Williams' character was Sean, I forget his last name, McGuire. Sean McGuire.
Sean on the cast.
Yeah, it was Sean McGuire. I'm pretty sure of it. Anyway, when he met with Professor, what's the math guy?
Stellan character listed.
Yeah, he was. He even told him, he's like, you went through all these psychologists before me, didn't you? You went through, and it was every single guy that Matt Damon had already just kind of crushed, and so it was like, why are you coming to me? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Lambeau was his name.
Oh yeah, Professor Lambeau. Yeah. And so he's like, oh, why did you come to me? And then he told him, he's like, well, because you guys have that common bond, which is you guys grew up in the same area,
right?
So he felt like maybe going to this guy, and that Professor Lambeau was such a dick that he didn't think about going to him first, knowing he already knew that guy came from the same area. Right. If I was his character, that would have been the first guy I would have went to. I wouldn't have gone to all these other guys. I would have gone to him. Hey, you guys have the same background. Maybe you can identify a little bit more with him than all these other assholes.
You look down on him, and that's another part of it.
Oh, because of the fact that he got married and did something completely different with his life that Professor Lambeau didn't agree with, or didn't respect. He felt so high and mighty. But yeah, I'm sure that's their discussion. But yeah, it was so great to see, because you're right. I was expecting Robin Williams to have that same stoic character, which he did for the majority of the movie. But it was that whenever he finally pushed that button, right, when he was looking at that painting, that watercolor painting, and then he was talking about his wife, and that was it, man. Yep. And you saw it, right? You saw it in his eyes. Yep. You saw the moment he snapped, and he just grabbed him by the throat and just choked the shit out and scared him. That was a problem. He had in the whole movie, Will Hunting had never been scared. Did you notice that? He was never scared of nobody or anything. It didn't matter what it was. But the moment he said that, and Robin Williams' character, Sean McGuire, snatched him by the throat and said, I will fucking end you. He believed it. He finally believed it, So,
but he also respected him.
Yeah, he did. And then it led into another powerful scene, which was them two on the bench, right? He was like, hey, come, and it was classic Matt Damon still trying to rile him up. What is this, a Folgers like crystal, moment between, men? Are we going to hug after this or whatever? So, and then that's when Robin Williams went into that long soliloquy about, hey, you've probably read every single book about this or about love or about, and you can recite me a sonnet, or you could tell me, but have you ever held somebody dying in your arms? And like just very, very powerful. Like if you guys don't if you guys don't ever watch this movie, just look up that scene between Robin Williams and Matt Damon on the bench. You guys forever will enjoy it. You will go watch this movie just based off of that scene alone. It was an incredible scene between those two guys.
And the beauty of the scene is Matt Damon's character, Will Hunting, has all the answers, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's smarter than everybody. He knows everything. And Robin Williams knows that about him, that he thinks he knows everything. And so he has to hit him with the things that he knows he does not have. Mm-hmm. You've never been out of Boston. You never left the city. You never been out. You never smelled the Sistine Chapel. Mm-hmm. Like, you can sit here and tell me all this stuff about the artists and whatnot, but you can't tell me, what the rain sounds like off the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. You can't tell me, like you said, what it's like to hold your friend and you laugh as he breathes his last breath. Like, he's been in war. Like, I've been in war. I've been married. I had a woman. Like, you don't know what love is. That type. Like, he breaks it all down for him. Like, these are the things you don't have, and there's not shit he can say.
Mm-hmm. No, and then I love the way he ends it. Right. So the way he ends it is, that he's fascinated. There are things about you and I'm fascinated, Will. But you don't want me to learn all this about you. Because you don't want to let people in, right? So there's nothing I can do. Basically, he was telling him, there's nothing I can do unless you let me in. Mm-hmm. And until you let me in, we're going to be doing whatever we're going to do forever. So, and then he goes and he tells him it's your move, sport. And the next scene, obviously, is them two being at the school doing their session, and they didn't say a word to each other for the entire session, And so, and then the Professor Lembo comes back and says, "Hey, what? You guys didn't say nothing. We didn't. No, he's just testing me. He's testing to see how long I'm willing to hold out on talking to him." So, like I said, incredible scene, and just a hope. And I know we've jumped around.
No, it's fine. I don't want to do chronological, because I feel like if we do chronological, we'll be here forever.
Oh, we will. Yeah, definitely.
I just want to hit the key moments.
Yeah.
And so the beauty of the relationship between those two is the pacing of it. Mm-hmm. It didn't feel too fast. It didn't feel too forced. It was somewhat unpredictable in the way some things went down. But the top moment where he really gets through to him, and that's the whole reason I brought this up, the moment where he really gets through to him is when he says, you could have taken a janitor job anywhere, but you chose MIT. You get on a train, you go 45 minutes out of town to go to MIT to be a janitor. That's not unintentional. So you could pretend that you're not trying, that you don't care, that you don't think about it. But this is a very clear sign that you do, and you are. And again,
he basically says he's full of shit, right? He basically says he's full of shit because it's like you said, he could have taken a janitor job closer to his house that probably would have paid him more or whatever, people that he knew. But he wanted to be discovered, right? He wanted that attention. He did want to showcase his talent or be able to be, like I said, be discovered, right? So that's the reason why he went out. He wanted to showcase and show up other people, show up the other geniuses, So we see in the scene later on, whenever he's working on those proofs with Professor Lambeau, which was part of the reason how he got out of jail, because I know we've been jumping around, but he got in trouble at the beginning of the movie because he jumped a whole bunch of people, got arrested because he hit a cop, right? So that, bringing it to our times, if you or me were to hit a cop, there would have definitely been a different repercussion there, right? But, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm about to say it would have been, this is the person that you're always going to be, and now we got to give you 15 years of life.
Exactly. But because that professor was looking for him because he solved a proof at the beginning that nobody was able to solve, only the top mathematicians, that professor actually seeked him out because he saw that there was talent. He saw that there was something there, and he wanted to push him and he wanted to challenge himself because of the way he felt. He felt like he was the top math guy in the world, and so he was seeking out Will, found that he was in jail, or defending himself, right, in front of a judge, citing obscure laws from like 1700 and something. And then so he was able to get Will out on the release, right, contingent on that he did, work with him for like a couple hours a week, and that he got psychological evaluations, which is what introduced all those other psychologists before Robin Williams' character.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I mean, so it was like the other part that I was trying to get to was whenever he was working with Professor Lambeau and on a particular math problem, and he's like, "Do you understand how fucking easy this is for me? You this shit's a joke. This shit's a joke. It's like I can do this shit in my sleep, basically." And so he sets that paper, that proof on fire, and that's what set Professor Lambeau off, because he's like, "You're right, Will. There's nobody that can do what you do. This is some stuff that we've been working on for years, and I can't even figure it out. And that this is just not fair." That's what he says, it's not fair, but that you're just gonna basically fuck off your life and not do anything, So anyway, yeah, man. Like I said, there's so many scenes that just jump out at you. That's why I said I could probably cite like a whole bunch of them, that are my favorites. But yeah, I think I've taken enough on that one. So
let's see. I got a few key points I still want to hit.
Sure.
Now, if you're a movie fan, what do people say? A date is dinner and a movie, right? Well, restaurant.com has you covered on the dinner side. Now, right now, they're offering different levels of packages. So you can spend $10 and get a $25 gift certificate to a restaurant near you. That's right. Spend $10 and get a $25 gift certificate. I know that doesn't sound right? Well, let me break it down for you. If you go to restaurant.com, or click the link, I should say, in the show notes to go to the restaurant.com page. When you get to their page, you put in your zip code, or if you're traveling, put in the zip code of the location that you're visiting. A list of restaurants in or near that zip code will show up. You pick the restaurant you're interested in, and a list of options will come up for that restaurant. So it may not be the 10 for 25, maybe it's a 5 for 15 offer, but regardless, you're going to get money off on your meal. Most restaurants will have a minimum purchase amount for your meal to apply, but that's why I asked if you like to eat here. For example, there's a barbecue spot near me that this deal works for. I can get the $25 certificate for $10, and the total purchase at the restaurant has to be $50. All in all, I'm paying $35 for a $50 meal, and that sounds good to me. But there is more. If you're flying solo and you don't think that you can buy $50 worth of food, there are lower options. There's one that says pay $6 for $15 off, or $4 for $10 off. It all just depends on the restaurants. So again, if this sounds interesting, just hit the restaurant.com link in the show notes for more information. Again, you'll go there, put in your zip code, and check out the restaurants near you where these discounts apply. And for your boy Bibbs purposes, it is important that you go to the link in the show notes or the link at bibscorner.com on the support the show tab. We have not talked about the love interest in this movie.
Okay.
A lot of times there comes a love interest, and a lot of times it doesn't feel natural. I talked about this with Top Gun. When I went back and watched the original Top Gun, the whole love angle was just not doing much for me. In this movie, I'm not mad at the love interest at all, because it adds a new dimension of pressure for him to make these decisions that he's struggling with. He meets the girl in the bar. Ben Affleck's character is getting called out by some smart asshole, and Will Hunting steps in and saves the day with knowledge and calling the dude out, because again, he reads people and he can see who this dude is and he exposes them. And then he gets the girl's number. The girl played by Minnie Driver, Skylar, played by Minnie Driver. They're hanging out, you know, they have situations where, you know, she's got homework to do and he's like, all right, cool. And then he came back with the homework completed, like, all right, here's your homework, let's go. And the first time she's cool with it, next time she's like, I really actually have to learn this shit, like, please stop. And then you get to the point where she's going to Stanford. She's gonna leave, so now you have that pressure point that you got to shit or get off the pot. And he decides they have the big fight. The fight was intense. The fight was a lot.
Yeah.
I was like, where nobody in the dorm is reacting to this? Like, what are we doing? But let's talk about the fight. Like, how did you feel, you know, to explain that scene, how that scene works for you? Like the relationship up to that point and then the fight itself.
So I'm with what you said to begin with. It was like in some movies you see how they try to force chemistry between two actors, right? And in this case, I understand why they needed to introduce that as another wrinkle to add a little bit more depth to to Will Hunting's character.
Right.
Just not to make him the, you know, angry, brooding, whatever all the time, that he did have a little bit of a softer side to him, right? A little bit, you know, he was still pretty hard edged, but, you know, so the whole scene where you talked about everything perfectly, where that, you know, guy with the ponytail got schooled by Matt Damon, you know, and then the girls, what I thought was the trip, because I don't know about you, man, but it's never happened to me, where a girl would walk up to you and just straight up hand you their phone number and be like, you know, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, just be so bold, you know, to just do that and then walk away. And like he made a silly comment like, oh, we can, you know, she's like, well, we can get together and go have some tea or coffee or something. Right. And he's like, oh, we can just, you know, eat like caramels or something, you know, or some other arbitrary, you know, thing. Like he was just trying to be a smart ass, you know, smarmy with her. So I feel like the way they tried to force it, at first it was a little clunky, but as you saw the progression of the movie, like you said, the pacing of the movie was incredible, because you get the notion that he was really interested in her, you know, and he, like, again, without getting into the whole abuse and stuff and everything that we haven't gotten into yet, you can tell that it was hard for him to let his guard down,
right, and
fall in love with somebody or like have feelings of love for somebody. So when he was trying to do that with her, and so you had the interactions like at that, I don't know if it was like a dollar store or whatever, where they had all the little goofy shit, you know, they were like basically on a date, where she put those googly eyes on and he was doing the magic trick where he threw the, you know, oh, you see, I'm making this disappear, and then he threw it behind him. And then they were, you know, eating a hot dog or whatever the hell it was. And then she's like, the Minnie Driver was talking about the goodnight kiss. And he was like, well, actually, I was hoping for a goodnight lay, but, you know, I'll take the kiss, you know. So it's just the dialogue in this movie, like I said, is incredible. The banter between all of the characters, you know, in this case, when you're talking about the least part of it, well, I feel like it's the least part of the entire movie is their relationship until it crescends to the fight, right? Whenever they get there. But, you know, then again, him being, you know, protective, defensive, there, you know, and one of the times that he wanted to go out on a date with her, you were saying that she had to study. He went and got the homework for her. She's like, I need to study this. Oh, let's go have fun real quick. So they went to the dog track. And he made up the fact that he had 12 brothers, and he recited their names because he was just being defensive and protective of himself. He didn't want to let her in still.
Right.
So at the moment when they get back, when she tells him that she loves him and that she wants him to go to Stanford with her, he was like, why? You know, like he just didn't understand. You know, why? Why do you want me to come with you? You know, why aren't we hanging out with your brothers? What, you want me to tell you that I don't have any brothers? Is that what you want? And he starts just getting aggravated and angry, you know? And then he starts belittling her like he does everybody else, right? and talking about how she's going to talk about this with all the other trust fund babies one day, while you're pregnant, or hanging out while you're drinking your drinks, say, oh yeah, I used to slum it in South Boston as well a long time ago, but and she's like, what is your fascination with this money? This is a powerful line from Minnie Driver, from Skyler's character, that she was talking about, that, her dad passing away,
right.
And that's how she ended up with the money. And that she, her line is, you don't think that I'd stop for a minute and give all that money back to have one more moment with my dad, like one more moment, one more second, so it was such a powerful.
Which makes sense that he would not understand that, because obviously he's an orphan.
He's never loved anybody. He's
right.
never loved anybody or had anybody love him that way. So he didn't know how to identify with that. So that's why he started reacting the way he did, getting mad, punching the wall, and I thought he was going to hit her, man.
I thought he was going to hit her. I was like, dang, we got domestic violence going on.
I thought he was going to hit her. I was like, oh man, we can't go this way, because the thing about this movie above all is, even though, like you said, you pointed out, we're POC, right? Latin, African American. These guys are, we don't really identify with them other than maybe their socioeconomic,
right?
Upbringing, maybe that, but we're not the same people, So to see somebody struggle, similarly through something that maybe some of our people have struggled with, people that have struggled with, was really eye-opening. For me, like I said, I've seen this movie through way different lenses over the years. And so when he started, getting mad and yelling at her, like you said, why wasn't anybody in the, the RA from the dorm, anybody checking on her, and right. He had to sneak in there, right? Because wasn't it an all-girls dorm or something?
I think so.
Yeah. So he had to sneak in there. So why wouldn't, all the girls would be like, why wouldn't you check up on your friend or something? So no, but it was a very, very powerful scene. In the end, I did buy the chemistry, but it was hard when they first started.
Yeah.
When they first started,
That day, like you said, with the dog track and everything, was the day where that was when I realized he loved her. When he was watching her get excited about her dog winning and stuff like that, I was like, yeah, that's a good scene right there. That's how it really looks. Not usually in movies they do some cheesy stuff, but something simple, just him watching her celebrate a dog winning on a that's when it really happens. When you're watching her eat a cheeseburger and on a chin, that's a real love moment right there.
The time when I thought it is when he was in the rain at the phone, calling her, and he wouldn't talk, but he would listen to her, talk or whatever. And she said that professor, whatever his thing was, thinking that it was a teacher that maybe had probably been stalking her or whatever.
I was gonna say that was a throwaway line.
That was
what?
Yeah, it was just one of those shocking things, right? You're just trying to do a reveal of a shock, but yeah, I agree. I guess I could see where you say, where the dog, where you see the loving glare, I guess, right?
Right.
She's all proud of herself and happy with her big win, and you could see the gaze from him. That's okay, this is somebody that means more to him than maybe even his friends, but he's not aware of it at that moment in time,
and definitely not willing to accept it.
Exactly, because it's something that he's never really felt or really dealt with before.
It's vulnerability that goes beyond, and I can relate to that. I personally, I never felt that way. So I was probably in my mid-20s about anybody. And when you feel it that first time, it's am I soft? Am I getting soft out here? What is going on?
Am I tripping? What happened, man? No, yeah, no. I completely agree, man. So it was just, I didn't understand it at first, but I grew to appreciate her part in this story because, like I said, it's all of those aspects that mixed together that finally broke through Will's big defenses that he had. He was so defensive for so long, and he had to protect himself and protect his heart the entire time. And so not only his defenses, right, but then he had his friends that were watching his back, right? So then when Skylar met his friends, and they instantly, you could tell they instantly fuck with her. You know what I'm saying? Like, this girl is cool. And then to top it all off, she told that joke. You know, that was like, man, like I love the girl. You know what I'm saying? Like when I first saw it, I was like, this girl's a girl that I can love, because
like she's good for you and she's cool with us. Like, yeah, we're gonna approve of this. Like,
yeah, exactly. So that in the end, I really warmed up to the culmination of where they were going with their story, which I mean obviously culminates in, I'm sure we'll talk about.
We gotta close on that.
Yeah.
So with the argument you mentioned already, how he he had made up the lie, which people do, you tell a story and you don't think it's going to end up coming back. And the way he threw it at her, like, you want me to tell you I don't have any brothers because I'm an orphan? Like, he's telling her, now I'm telling you the truth. Now I'm being vulnerable, but I'm doing it in this angry way. And so she immediately like folds and like crumbles and it's like, I didn't know, I'm sorry. Like, she's saying all the right stuff. And it's like, I've done that before. Like I've been in that position where I like was holding stuff in and didn't want to tell it. And then like we get in an argument and now I'm going to throw it in your face type of thing. It's not healthy at all. I
think we've all done it, man. And, I mean, in an instinct, right? It's something when you're doing that, right? Well, he was protecting his heart when we were talking about that, so you're protecting yours. I was protecting mine when I've done that, you know, and you're right. It's not right. It's not mature at all. Like, it's not mature. No. That's such an immature act. But at the same time, when you're at your most vulnerable, right? Whenever I think of vulnerability, I think of almost like a childlike state, right? You're like almost like you're like, throwing your hands like, hold me, like care for me, take care of me, love me, And when you're like that to somebody and they reject you, and that's what he was experiencing, or had experienced all the way up until the beginning of, how this movie sets up and goes through all of that.
And in this moment, he's not even willing to accept because she's apologetic. And even at the end of this, she tells, I love you. Like, and he's not hearing it. Like he goes, I think that he does end up folding and calling her, and then she like says it again, like I love you, and he doesn't say it back.
He's like, okay, you're like, all right, like. But again, it's
feel for her. Like I felt her pain. Like I wouldn't want nothing to do with this dude at this point. Like at this, but
exactly. But I think that she, I think because of the way she said it, right? So she said it so lovingly and so tender when she said it, because she knew that when she got through to him with their fight, right, there was a lot of stuff that she had been holding back from her that he hadn't told her,
right?
And so she was trying to not be mad. You didn't tell me all this. Why didn't you tell me all this, right? It's like, some women will just flip out on you. There's a lot of, if she was just trying to be understanding, and I think she had like a sixth sense, right? When you're with somebody that you really care about, and that person's, you guys are together, they're going to have a sense, right? That they know how you feel, or that you're being, like, in this case, the most vulnerable that you've been. And she was just trying to be like, hey, look, regardless of what happened, right? Yeah. I love you. I want to be with you, And this dude's still like, all right, cool.
I don't believe you.
I'm straight.
But I think, I don't want to stay on the scene forever, but
right.
I think that she had already identified that there was something there. Mm-hmm. I think that she clearly didn't realize how deep it went up until that moment. Like I thought maybe she thought I think she probably thought he was ashamed of his family in some way. Mm-hmm. And that's why he didn't want to introduce her to them. But then she finds out this, and it's like, oh crap, like I was correct that there was something that you were hiding, but I didn't realize it went this deep. So it probably did make her care more if she was truly a good person. I'm not mad at how it went down. I love the fact that like we know she's getting on a plane, and like even after he doesn't say he loves her back, she's like, as she goes to the airport, she's like looking for him to have a dramatic airport scene. So they set us up for that. Like, is he gonna run and see her on the airport? He doesn't, but we see him go out to the bench, and because he knows when the flight's leaving, he knows where the path is going to be, and he like watches it fly over. Like that was great. That was cinema. That's cinema right there.
Right. It's very, very much so. Very, very. A lot of the scenes are very, very cinematic. You know, like I said, we were talking about the bench scene between him and Robin Williams earlier. You get a perspective of a shot from behind the two when they're before they start talking, before Robin Williams goes in to the soliloquy. You get a whole bunch of shots of in between shots of like the subway and like, you know, his, you know, like being very pensive, you know, being on the subway and thinking about stuff. And, you know, like you could see that it's whatever's going on, whatever started this change in him was really affecting him. Whereas before, we could probably guess that none of the shit ever really mattered to him before.
Right. He was just kind of going with the emotions.
Yeah, just going with the flow and just really the only thing he cared about was just chilling with the boys and fighting and, you know, doing whatever, you know, getting into trouble, man, you know?
Let's see. Let me break this up real quick with a joke.
Sure.
It's not really a joke, but it's something I found hilarious. I mentioned it on Twitter. Casey Affleck. I was not familiar with him as a youth.
Mm-hmm.
He was given Chalamet in this, and Chalamet. I said he was Timothy Chalamet with personality. Like this, I don't know how he didn't become the It Man. Like he seemed like he was pretty. It seemed like he should have been on his way, but maybe it was before his time. Maybe he'd be on his way in the modern era.
I think what happened was, I think that if I recall correctly, and I don't, you know, I think that he started partying a little too much because he was younger than them, you know? And so if I recall correctly, I don't remember exactly, but I don't think that, just very much like his character in this movie, I don't think that he took his career as seriously as the others did. Like all the other three, like Hauser as well. He was in a whole bunch of movies. I don't think that he ever fully really broke through until like later on in his career, you know. But
I'm thinking that might be because I'm looking. I know the first time I actually paid attention to Casey Affleck was Manchester by the Sea.
Okay.
Did you see that movie?
I have not seen that movie. Yeah.
So in that movie, he plays a he won best performance he won best lead actor, the Oscar for that in Manchester by the Sea. I hated that movie personally. I did.
Wow.
Just because of how it ended. It was interesting. It was a good movie, but the way it ends pissed me off.
And I have to watch it.
I think it confused everybody in the theater with the way it ends. But essentially, I think it was like a comeback, like kind of a microcosm of his life, not his life directly, but like a guy who, let me see if I can read the description. A depressed uncle is asked to take care of his teenage nephew after the boy's father died. So basically, he's from this small town, Manchester by the sea, if you will. But he's like left the town to go live somewhere else because of something that happened before he left. Something he did he was a father, husband. He made a huge mistake. And something happened. So he left the city. But now his brother has passed away and left his son to him, basically. And so now he's got to come back home to this small town where everybody knows him. Everybody knows his mistakes, basically. So like he's walking around with his head down and people are looking at him like, yo, is that him? Is he back? Like that type of thing. Like, the whole movie, he's like, I don't know why your dad left you to me. Like, I don't want to be here. I can't do this. I can't raise you. Like, he's going through all these motions of, I can't make it here. I think he like runs into his ex-wife or a former girlfriend or something along those lines. They have some dramatic moments, but like, basically he's struggling with being in this town, having lost his brother, having to now raise his brother's son, and having to face the demons that he never dealt with before he left, the town. Like that's the story.
Okay.
So I think that's why he ended up getting the Oscar, not just because of the film itself, but because of his own personal journey, I guess.
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't certain why, but I know that there was talks. I mean, let's be frank, though, all of them love to party, right? So when they were at an age where they were all young, they were all. I think if I recall, I think Matt Damon and Minnie Driver dated after this movie came out as well, for a little while, and so they were just, I mean, young, and they were going to take over the world, man. And so when you have that mentality, when you have that ambition, I think that I don't know about you, man. If I would have been at that age doing that, I probably would have partied a little too hard myself. So I think that's probably what happened. But yeah, I mean, no, Casey Affleck, again, like so many characters in this movie, right? Just there's little nuggets that are like I've seen, like I told you, I've seen this movie a whole bunch of times. Every time I see it, I pick up something new from somebody else. Like I had asked you before we started this review, and I'll ask you again, who was your favorite character in this movie and why?
So I'll answer the question now. It's definitely Robin Williams' character. Finally, if you're here, you also probably like television, and you may be looking at different options for cutting the cord, and one of those options is Philo. Philo offers 70 plus top rated television channels, including MTV, BET, AMC, A&E, Discovery, VH1, Food Network, Nickelodeon, OWN, History, TLC, Lifetime, Hallmark, Paramount, TV One, and more. All for just $25 per month. Philo also offers premium add-on channels, including MGM Plus and Stars. Philo has live TV, unlimited DVR. That's right, not all these places have it, but Philo has unlimited DVR on demand, and content from top programmers are available on your web browsers. iOS, iPad, Fire TV, Roku, and Chromecast functionality on Android mobile devices. This is excluding first-generation Chromecast devices. And Philo's on-demand library features 75,000 movies, shows, and specials. Philo offers a 7-day free trial for new users, so you can sign up today, again, at the link in the show notes, or at the link on the bibscorner.com website on the Support Your Show tab. You can click the link in the show notes. There are two, actually. The first one gets you straight to signing up if you don't have any further questions, if I've broken it down for you well enough. The second one will take you to a page that does have more details if you want to read a little bit more. All right, let's get back to the content.
Okay.
As a child, Robin Williams was everything. Like he was my Mr. Doubtfire, Jumanji. Like Robin Williams was. I didn't realize it till he passed away. Like he was a huge part of my childhood, and so I'd never seen this movie, and I can't remember. I maybe seen him in one other role where he was this dramatic, but I think the point I'm at in my life, not completely relatable to him, but like the kind of the conversations that he has with his ability to identify things in Will is something I think I do with people, is identify those strengths and try to bring those out, not necessarily pursue things myself that I should maybe.
Right.
And so he gets called out for that, as well as not doing all the things that he's capable of, which is something I personally deal with often. Is people telling me I'm supposed to be doing this, that, and the third, and I feel like I'm stuck in some ways, but it's a personal stuckness, so I related to that a lot. And his willingness to basically be a battering ram for Will's character for a while also imparting wisdom, it stuck with me, and I see why he won the Oscar, basically.
Yeah, no, for a long time, Sean McGuire, Robin Williams was definitely my favorite character. I have to be honest, right? Chucky, actually, Ben Affleck's character is my favorite character in the movie. And like you said, he really didn't have a ton of lines, but the lines he had were super impactful. in the entire movie, right? Like it was just, if you think about it, when he was on screen for whatever they were doing, it impacted that movie in such a big way that even I think in some scenes, we know that Robin Williams and Will Hunting, Robin Williams and Matt Damon's character carried the movie, obviously.
Right.
But I feel like he overshadowed whenever he was on the screen, he overshadowed them with what he was saying at that time and how his character was carrying it, himself. So yeah, for a long time, and the reason why I say Robin Williams was my favorite character for a long time, especially now in light of his death, is like how closely do I, because a lot of people are like, oh, you associate Robin Williams, the clown, the stand-up comedian, the jokester, the whatever, right? And I was like, I think that he was closer to his true life person in this movie, because he was a genius, man. Robin Williams is a fucking genius. I'll just say that. The characters that he was able to portray all over the place, the way he was able to do it and how he was able to do it. So that's why I say I feel like this was probably closer to who he probably was in real life, than most of the other guys are just the faces, right? The many faces that they show of the comedian, So I think that was what I loved about Rob Williams. But I feel like the character that I love the most at the end, when I say he's my favorite character, is Chucky, because of how impactful his scenes, although brief in the interactions, they were so, they moved the story the way they did. And he was such a big character to Will. I'll ask it this way as well. There's a neat little experiment, I think, that's been going on Twitter for a long time now. It's like, are you the leader of your friends group, right? So who was the leader of this friends group? Was it Matt Damon? Was it Ben Affleck? Was it Hauser? Was it, obviously it wasn't Casey Affleck. He was the comedy relief,
I was definitely Chucky. It was definitely Chucky.
Yeah. So that's why I felt like he was the guy walking around with the big stick, even though he didn't have, like you said, he didn't have as many scenes, and he didn't have that. He even had like a comic relief scene when he went to that job interview for Will, asking for it. That was the silliest damn part of the movie.
That was one of those scenes that you just do in a movie to do it, and it probably could have been cut, but whatever. It was.
Yeah.
No, you make a good point. I was going through the movie. I was like, man, Ben Affleck's in this movie, but he's not really in this movie. And then you have the scene when they're on the construction site, and he gives that little speech like about Will needing to get out for everybody else to feel good about themselves. And that's the street code. When you find the kid with the chance out, like everybody's the community comes around and make sure that kid gets out, because there's crabs in the bucket too. You get the crabs in the bucket situation as well, but the people that actually care about you, the OGs or what have you, usually take that kid under the wing and make sure. Like I've seen scenarios where it's like the kid's like, "Hey, put me on. I'm trying to get out here and sell these drugs." And then, no, you're not. You're gonna stay in the books. If you need some money, let me know. Like we'll take care of you. Like we're not letting you throw your life away like that.
Right.
Like, maybe I did that, like as a kid, like the OGs, like maybe I could have made it out. I could have went to college, but instead I got out here. I'm not going to let the next generation do that. Like, so that's what I identified Ben Affleck's character as for Matt Damon, is like, no, I'm not going to sit here and let you break bricks and have back pain the rest of your life when you can be sitting comfortable. Exactly. And maybe you can buy us all tickets to the game. Like we don't have to slum it out to the game. Like
right.
Let's do this the right way. So that scene alone moved him way up my chart. And then you mentioned it already, where he talked about, one day wanting to go to his house and pick him up and knock on the door and he doesn't answer. Like that scene, oh man, that scene almost got me.
It was powerful. That's what I said. Like, so every scene, like, and if you go to rewatch it again, which I mean, I'm not expecting you to rewatch it again. I know you just got through seeing it, but if you go to rewatch this movie again, every scene that Ben Affleck is in, even the comic relief scene, he just commands the screen, right? So he just takes the attention, like for that, even if it's just for the brief minute or half a minute or whatever. Even when Skylar was telling the joke, right? The camera panned to him, and it was his reaction. you first before even Will's or anybody else's reaction, right? When it was, later on in the movie when they were celebrating Will's birthday, right? They were at the bar. Hauser walks in and, does the sign of the car saying, hey, like, let's go or whatever. And he's like, and then he turns to him and it's the camera pans to him deadpan, as, hey, shithead, happy birthday, and he just come out and it's the stupidest lines. It could be just the dumbest fucking lines that they have in the movie. But the way he says it and the way he delivers it, that's why I said Chucky became my favorite character. Just slightly edging out. And it's just because of the lack of amount of screen time versus Sean's, Sean and Will's domination of the screen. I mean, Sean, because of the stories that he shared, whether it was at the bar or during their times whenever they were talking in their sessions and stuff, that was super duper powerful. That's why Sean was one of my favorite characters throughout. But it's just when I made the realization that Chucky was the friends leader, the group leader, and that it was driven by him. But the camera had been on Will this movie was about Will, but Chucky was the friends group leader.
Right. He had that quiet confidence about him, like he knew everybody's role and kept everybody in line, type of thing.
Exactly. Even when he was clowning his brother, I forgot what his name was in the movie, but when he was he was clowning him pretty much the entire movie. Morgan. And then at the end, whenever he was, I guess, Morgan was wrestling with Hauser's, and he's like, no, he's got a lot of scrap to him, He's like, so it's just like I said, man, just these little lines here and there that you just don't think make a huge impact, made a big impact in this movie. In a movie, full of lines, full of quotable quotes, everything. This movie had it all,
Perfect transition. There's a few more things I wanted to hit.
Sure.
And I feel like I got to save this one for last, actually. I'm going to skip it. There's a scene where the two professors are arguing.
Mm-hmm.
In that argument, it basically becomes clear that Lambeau feels like Sean has kind of wasted his life and his talent and abilities. And he's like, if you're mad at me for being successful, blah, 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 blah. And like Robin Williams, like, it's not about you, dog. Like, I don't give a fuck about your success. Like, just get that bullshit out of here. Like, you're sitting here thinking I envy you or something. I do not. Like, that's not that's not how our relationship fell apart, or why our relationship is what it is. And the whole time, like, Will is outside the door hearing this conversation. I think it was important for him to hear that conversation, to understand that this dude is not a joke and understand where he is in his life. He's already had the argument with him about cashing in his chips, like, because he also was saying, you should be doing more. You should be doing this. Like, why are you just sitting here, type of thing. And now he hears his friend throwing in his face, basically. And he's like, oh shit. Yeah. And I think this is after the conversation with Chucky as well. And I think he's kind of seeing that could be my future. Like, I could be the friend that people are mad at for not doing the shit that he's supposed to do.
I think you're right. I think, because he's walking in, Will's walking down the stairs and walking up to the office. And then the pans over to Robin Williams, Sean McGuire's character, having it out with Lambeau, and he's the Fields medal. You and your cronies are all worried about the fucking Fields medal, and he's like, oh, it's the Fields medal. You could fucking have it. And he's like, you can take that Fields medal and shove it up your ass. It's not about that. It's not about you dick. It's about the boy. Make this about the boy. Like, quit. He's like. But we need to push him. The greatest mathematicians in the world were pushed, but you can't push him right now because he's at a delicate, place right now where that if you push him too much, he's going to snap and he's not going to do. He's not going to care what you're trying to do for him. And this entire time, I think that Sean, Robin Williams' character, realized that that's what the professor's deal was trying to steer good Will Hunning's life, telling him, hey, this is what you need to be doing this, and you need to be doing that. And what are you doing? You're just getting drunk with your friends on a Saturday night instead of working on proofs that need to be, solved and all this other stuff. And I think that you said that, they were having an argument between the professors, and it's like, and you did get the disrespect. Like you started getting it early when they first started having the interactions, when they met at the bar to talk about, him, meeting Will and possibly helping him out with that situation. But you really got the full disrespect from Lambeau to Sean, to McGuire's character in this scene. And it's like you basically wasted your life doing what you're doing. And right. that and Sean felt like he didn't waste his life because he became a counselor, he became a teacher and became a counselor and counseled vets and did other stuff that he was doing that he felt fulfilled doing. And I think it's also a case in what you may think is good for me in my life is not what I think is good for me in my life. Exactly. And and you worry about you and yourself. Don't push somebody that doesn't want to be pushed. Right? If you're pushing somebody that doesn't want to be pushed, it's not going to end well. And I feel like you're right. I really do agree that Will needed to hear that, not only because it was obvious that that became the instance that he realized that Lambeau didn't really want Sean to be the one to help him through his problems, but that he had no choice but to pick, he was his last resort, basically, to help him to get through to him, and so, and it was just like I said, the blatant, and it wasn't out of, I guess it was just out of lost potential. I think that's what it is. I think from Lambeau's point of view, it went to Sean's, he felt like he had all this potential and he just lost it. He never did anything with it. Whereas Sean felt fulfilled in everything that he did. And it didn't matter what this, mathematician prick thought of him or his life, that he was happy doing what he did. And that I feel like the other animosity that was there underlying the tone and the tension was that guy, I guess since they were friends from a long time ago, didn't show up to his wife's funeral. Right. Sent him a card. He's like, I got your card. The way he said it was very, very, like spiteful, very like you could feel the vindictiveness behind, yeah, thank you, I got the card, and it was like when you saw that, you knew that their dynamic wasn't they may have been cool once upon a time, right? It's somebody that I know, that I know that could help me out with this situation. I'm going to contact him. I probably haven't talked to him in years, but I need this help to get through to this kid. And basically, you're my last resort.
Yeah. So I could steer him the way that I want to steer him. And I think the touch on a point that you kind of made, the last piece of that being important is that for Will, who's already resistant to what Lambeau's trying to do, to hear Sean say, like, the path that you think I was supposed to take isn't the path that I wanted to take. It kind of gives him an idea of, maybe there's other ways to do this thing. Like maybe I can go a different, like I don't have to do the whole mathematician thing that Lambeau wants, but I could still use my talents to have a better life for myself. And it creates a deeper connection between those two. That's when he brings out the file. He's looking at the pictures and they have the it's not your fault scene, and Will finally breaks down. Like,
it broke you, huh? That broke you, huh?
That's when the tears came.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I remember the very first time I saw that. And not only, man, I'll try not to do it right now. Not only because of how raw and real those emotions seemed, right? It was because of how I think that, I don't know about you, but for me personally, how I identified with his character, going through what I did when I was younger and seeing the stuff that happened to my family, without getting too much, right, too personal. I saw my mom get abused. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when you sit there and see somebody that you love get abused and you feel helpless, the abuse wasn't, the physical abuse wasn't to me, but it nevertheless, it still jars you, right? Yeah. That's something so like jarring when you're young and you see, so to see how raw and real that interaction was. Like, man, yeah, it totally got me, you know. Yep. When I first saw it, I mean, I just was bawling, you know, because I was like, man, damn, I know how he feels, because it's like, man, it's that little kid screaming right inside of you that, you know, you've always wanted somebody to hug you and tell you everything was going to be okay, you know, and he never had it. Yeah. He never had it in his entire existence. And he's like, and then they talk about whenever they're showing that fractured screen of the guy that was walking up the steps, you know, and it was like a flashback. I guess he was thinking about, you know, the abuse he endured or whatever. And then he said, you know, on the nights that, or he goes, you know, he would tell me to pick one, a belt, something, and a wrench. Yeah. And McGuire's character was like, well, I'd have to go with the belt there, sport. And he's like, well, I went with the wrench. And he's like, why'd you do that? Because fuck him. That's why, you know, like he didn't, you know, it was such a powerful, like, you see the tears in his eyes. Like, you can, like, man, I believe it. And I know this is a movie, but I believe it. I felt like Matt Damon's character as a kid got his shit kicked out of him with a wrench, you know? And so it was a powerful scene, man. A really, really moving, powerful scene. But the most powerful part of it was when you said, when Robin Williams said, you know, I don't know much, son, but I just want you to know that this isn't your fault, you know? And when he said it the first time, I was like, yeah, I mean, okay, cool. You know, he said it the first time. But then he kept saying it, kept repeating it. And then it was when you see the lights turn, right? Or the eyes turn on Matt, and he's like, don't you fucking do this to me. You know, don't you fucking do this to me. You know, like he pushes him and like, you know, like really like pushing, like he's about to like beat his ass and then they embrace, and then man, that was powerful stuff, man. You know,
and it works because we know that he's been on the precipice for a long time. Every time he gets close, he just like when he gets into an argument with Skylar, like he just explodes because he's not going to allow himself to feel in that moment. But in this moment, he finally does. Very, very powerful. And I think it's time to get to these closing points. So
I want to hit up a couple of spots.
There's two things. The two things I want to hit that might be what you were already going to go to. So the first one was we already kind of mentioned the speech with Ben Affleck and the day I get to knock on your door. So then at the end of the movie, we get the scene where him and the boys ride up, and he's walking up to the door. And we kind of know already, but he knocks on the door and there's no response. And he like peeks in the window, and then he has that moment on the porch where he's like it's not an instant like acceptance of like there's a lot going on in his mind. Like he really did it. I'm proud, but like, damn, I'm gonna miss him too. Like, it's not an immediate, like, this is great. Like, it's like, shit, I said I wanted this, but him, like, that's my dog. Like, I kind of miss him.
Right.
So that, and then like, they could have made that scene like 10 seconds and we would have gotten the point, but they give it like a full minute or two. Like, we get him walking up, we get him knocking, we get him looking in the window, we get him standing on the porch, we get him walking back, trying to pretend everything cool.
Throwing his hands up, you know?
Yeah. We get Morgan hopping in the front seat. Like, Morgan doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't really understand the magnitude of this situation right now. But just that was just a great scene and a great callback to a previous moment. And then the final callback I have to mention, earlier in the movie, when Will starts to open up to Sean, he talks about how they talk about a classic baseball game. And they're like going through it, and we see Will get like super excited all of a sudden. And Sean is like, I didn't go. He's like, huh? He's like, yeah, I had a date. I told my friends I got to go see about a girl. And he was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you missed this game for a chick? Like, what? Come on, man. Like, this is stupid. And he was like, how was I supposed to know that was going to happen?
Yeah.
It was game 6. Like, what are you talking about? But then, you know, we get the moment where he leaves the note in the mailbox, and the note says, gotta go see about a girl. And it was like, okay. See, these are quality callbacks. Like, people try to force, this was natural. It felt real. I loved it.
Yeah.
Does that hit the things that you needed to hear?
I mean, yes. So I'll address those for sure. The callbacks were awesome. You know, the interactions. I wanted to talk about the interactions between Sean and Will. You know, in their sessions. Yeah. And like you know, we did kind of briefly talk about the one where they were in a stare down where they didn't talk at all. You know, for the entire session. But then when Sean started falling asleep in the next one. He was like, okay, I'm not going to talk first. You know, he's got to talk. And then Will started it with a joke, right? And so Sean finally followed up and they finally started having some interaction. At first, it started off kind of playful or whatever, but then it was really when he started challenging him about what he wanted to do with his life, you know, because Professor Lambeau had set up a whole bunch of meetings for him. He sent Chucky to one of them that we talked about earlier, and then he even went to one where he went on this tirade about how some guy from Southie, is going to be eating, some type of fish with Quaker steak, and he's got shrapnel, he's got a hemorrhoid because of the shrapnel in his ass, and anyway, it was just
that was great because it was a political statement, while also accomplishing the point of showing us like he has morals and ethics. Like,
right,
I'm not going to work for this defense company when I know like we're just going to be killing poor people across the country.
Right. It was the CIA, right? It was the CIA that he was.
It was
or NSA.
Yeah, he was like, NSA. We're going to send the poor people from our country to kill the poor people in another country and then come back to no jobs because the person in the other poor country is doing it for cents on the dollar. It's like, I'm not going to be part of this machine, basically.
Yeah, he was saying that because the NSA guy said, well, it's not, why shouldn't you be working for us? Why aren't you working for us? Like basically, and that's when he went on that long tirade. So I wanted to call back to those really, really quick, but then to address what you just said, yes, it was wonderful. In their sessions, Sean would give, we obviously the first session, whenever they met, Sean grabbed Will by the throat when he was talking about his wife, right? And then whenever they had their interaction on the bench, he talked about his wife and how she she was his angel. And until she had cancer, and then he had to be her angel, and then he had to suffer through, watching her slowly die, and so he had set that up the entire movie. So the end, when he talked about in one of the sessions, they were talking about the baseball game that you had just mentioned a minute ago, right? So it was Game 6 of the World Series, Boston versus whoever the hell it was in 1980, whatever, right? And it was Pudge, I think was the name of the batter. He was hurt walking up to the batter, and they even shows kind of a clip of him being there and hitting the ball, and they're like, get over. The ball was trying to, instead of going foul, to be a home run or whatever. And so he was talking about this legendary game, and like you said, Will was just so excited. He was so pumped up. Oh my God, I can't believe! Did you rush the field? And he goes, no, man, I didn't rush the field. He goes, because he was talking about how he met this woman at a bar, and he slid his ticket over to his friends, and he told them, "Hey, fellas, I gotta go see about this girl," right? And so Will was so flabbergasted that he couldn't believe it. He was like, how the fuck are your friends going to let you miss this game? This Game 6 of the World Series. No. Whenever they saw my eyes, they knew I meant it. This, he goes, and Will even said the famous lines, Helen of Troy wouldn't have been able to make me miss that game. And so at the end, it was when that interaction was like, man, I didn't know Pudge was going to hit that home run. He was like, man, damn, So he had set that up in the sessions. So for it to come full circle, like you said, the full circle moment of, we talked about a little bit, the fellas, Will's boys got him a car. They built him a car. These guys that are probably, like I said, they're socioeconomically challenged, built him a fucking car. Yeah. It wasn't the greatest of looking thing, He said, what engine does it have? Does it have a lawnmower in there? He's
like, what do you say? It's the ugliest fucking car I've ever seen.
This is the ugliest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. But you could see like the guys were laughing it off, right? They were laughing and they were like, happy 21, Will, happy 20.
Yeah.
And the way they said it, you could, man, the love between them.
I was gonna say that's the love.
It's like they're brothers. Like he didn't have brothers, but they were his brothers, and so he didn't have. The reason why we talk about this is because it set up that last scene, where you said Chucky drove up, and it was so dramatic. You're right. It was like they spent like I don't know how many minutes setting this whole thing up. He gets out of the car, he wanders with his Dunkin' Donuts coffees, I guess, and he wanders up to the peruses all the way up to the little porch or whatever, and then starts knocking, and then you see that's the reason why I told you how Chucky had become my favorite character, because you see the moment it hits him in his face, like you see it, and he just kind of like, you have that, oh wow, oh shit, he did it, he left, I told him, like you said, I told him to go, but he's gone, wow, okay, all right, cool, but he wasn't upset or mad or anything. Right. He was like, it was almost like pride, right? Yeah. He was almost proud in that situation. Like he took my fucking advice and he's doing what he should have been doing. And on top of everything, I think that he knew that Will wanted to see what was up with him and Skylar. He knew he didn't see that through. Yeah. He wanted him to be, because in earlier scenes they were talking. Before the birthday reveal of his car. He was like, "What's up with you and your lady?" I was like, "Oh, that's done." She left. Yeah, like, "Oh, that sucks." Like, "Oh, that sucks." But it was just like it was such a throwaway line, but it's still kind of powerful because your boys know you more than anything. Get out there, buddy. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Oh, your boys know you more than anything.
You're good.
Oh, okay, sorry. But yeah, so it just happened that whenever that scene occurred, at the end, he knew in that moment that his friend, his brother, was finally doing what he needed to do for his life, for what he needed to do to move on and to chase after probably what could be the love of his life. Yeah. So that's the realization I felt like Chucky came to. Like he's finally moving on. He's finally gonna challenge himself and do what he needs to do. But first, he's gonna go see what happened between him and this girl. And then of course it cuts over to Sean McGuire, seeing somebody leave something in his mailbox, but he didn't know who it was. Right. And then they take it off, and he comes out to the mailbox, opens the mailbox, grabs it, and he's like, "Hey, tell Professor Lambeau that I'm sorry about," because he had finally accepted a job. Also, he accepted a job. Yeah, which
was interesting. He accepted the job, and then he went across the country.
So he accepted a job that he told Sean McGuire. He's like, "Hey, tell Professor that I'm sorry about the job, but I got to go see about a girl." And then Robin Williams just shakes his head and he's like, "Son of a bitch stole my line." So it was such a, like I said, man, so many quotable quotes in this movie. It's just an incredible movie to dissect. And like I said, I mean, I'm sure we haven't even talked about half of the other stuff that went on in it, but I feel like we did a really good job of hitting the main points and the main theme of the movie.
Yeah, I think we hit the main points. Did you think it was how do you feel about the choice to like just show him in the car driving and not have him like actually meet up with the chick or Scott?
I felt that was wonderfully done because it left that ambiguity, right? We don't know if we don't even know if that car made it half across the country. The shit could have broken down halfway, but I think it was the way the movie needed to end. Okay. To leave that sense of hope that he did go all the way across country to meet Skylar back up and actually see what really happened or what could develop between the two.
Right. Right. So. I agree. That was the right way to end it. Be curious to hear what your ending would be. I think you could make a whole movie of him trying to get across the country. tour.
Yeah, you can
That
do
could be a
that.
movie in itself.
So a couple of things I wanted to add on real quick. So whenever like I told you, I listened to the Bill Simmons pod where they had Matt Damon and Ben Affleck both on. So they were talking. They were talking about the Air and
Which
that movie.
Perfect timing because we just did the Air review. So nice little pairing, if you will, of Air and Good Will Hunting.
Definitely. And so they were talking about how they hadn't, Simmons had talked about how Matt Damon and Ben Affleck hadn't really worked together in a lot of movies until they got back together for this one. And I think it's, if I recall correctly, it's their production house that actually put it together. They decided to create a production house to make this movie, to have the ability to work together, because they enjoy each other's company. They're good friends. They've been good friends for forever. And this is a way for them not to have to make too many movies, where they can actually pick and choose the projects they want to do, or at least help prop other, friends like Hauser and like maybe more, Casey Affleck or other people, that they're affiliated or associated with. So it was a real interesting communication that they shared, but they said that whenever they were talking about Good Will Hunting, it was originally supposed to be like a thriller. It wasn't supposed to be like a feel good drama, love story, whatever you want to call it. What this ended up being, he wanted to make it like a thriller. Ben Affleck did originally, and the way they ended up right, but it was one of their don't get me lying. It was one of their friends that said, "No, you need to write it this way." It was somebody in another like producer type role. That he's a producer now. That told him, no, you don't need to write it that way. You need to write it this way and go with that. And then when they were talking about directing it, they didn't want. Neither one of them wanted to. Obviously, because they were so young in their career, but they didn't want. They had the opportunity to pick a bigger director than Gus Van Sant, and then him going with Gus Van Sant because he had done a couple of movies at that point in time, but that he had the wherewithal to be able to direct them in this movie. So it was really interesting to hear them talk about Good Will Hunting and how they haven't worked on so many projects if you look at it and over the years. And so hopefully they'll start working on some more projects, or at least,
which podcast did you say this was?
This was the Simmons podcast from Bill Simmons podcast from, I don't know, it's like 4 weeks ago or something. He had Ben Affleck and Matt Damon together, because he's had them both individually on the pod, but this was a pod where he had them both together.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, I'm glad I watched this movie. I think the timing ended up working out perfectly with Air coming out right around the same time. This was fun.
Man.
Looking forward to doing more. I know you signed up for like 10 movies.
Sorry, man.
No, don't apologize. There's 100 of them. So.
Yeah. No, like I said, I was so happy to do this one. I'm happy that this is your first one. I'm happy to be the guest on your first one of these. I don't know what you're going to call it, like a rewatchable or reviewable or a re-seen.
I'm just calling it the IMDB 100. Like that's the categorization. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it on the same feed that Have You Seen, but yeah, IMDB Top 100.
Top 100. Yeah, it's a great movie to start that journey. I know that I saw the list that you shared with me. There's a whole bunch of movies that I still have to see that I haven't seen. Okay. In the top 100. But yeah, the ones that I signed up for. I think I signed up for The Professional. I think there's a whole bunch of them that I signed up for. Goodfellas.
And I'm not sure at all which one I'm going to go to next. I have like 10 people that want to do the Goodfellas, so
okay, no, that's cool. And if
try to be choose, but people got to sign up. People got to sign up. So we'll see where I go next. This was fun. Follow the podcast at Have You Seen Pod on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at Bibbs Corner. Rolo at Speak On It Rolo on Twitter. 77 spaces for the Mavs talk. What kind of rotation are you guys going to be on for the summer? Are you going to be on for the summer?
Yeah, we're going to be doing, guest speakers, also. So we got Grant Afseth lined up first for our first show in the off season. I just have to talk to my co-host to see, because I think we're going to take a little bit of a break. I think we're probably going to watch the play-in playoffs for the next couple of maybe a week or maybe 2 weeks. I'll see. I know that Jazz is off for vacation this week. But yeah, we're going to be doing at least one show a week for the off season. That's what we tried to hit last off season. It sucks that the off season started early this season, but but yeah, I mean, we're going to definitely get that in the rotation. I've already I spoke with Shad as well to see if he can come on and join us for a space as well. So he said he's up for it. So I know that we're going to be doing it at least once a week. I'm not sure the day yet. I want to say probably Tuesdays, but I'm not sure because I think Kirk is doing his YouTube Pod Network stuff either on Wednesday. I think it's Wednesdays. So I don't want to overlap with other.
That's the tricky part of this whole thing when you start to be friendly with everybody is you don't want to step on people's toes, which is why I'm leaning more to the movie stuff right now instead of doing a bunch of Mavs podcasts. But this has been fun.
Yeah, man, I've enjoyed it. I appreciate you having me on as like I said, as a first guest for the IMDb 100, man. This was awesome. I hope we covered everything. I know, like I said,
I can't
so
think
much
of
more.
anything we left. I mean, I'm sure you could think of something we left out, but I think as far as the big topics, I think we hit them all. I hope nobody listens to this is like, man, y'all didn't mention the scene where he does the da da da. Like, oh. But I think we hit the big ones. Great movie. If you listen to this and haven't watched it, I don't know why, but whatever. If you have watched it, then I hope you got to reminisce and remember some of your favorite moments. But until next time, folks, peace.
Peace.
If I can close this, that would be great.